Jesus tells you to meditate. Luke 6:6, when thou prayest, enter in thine inner chamber, and having shut thy door. The inner chamber is your mind, the inner self. Shut thy door means to turn off the thinking mind. Matthew 6:34, take no thought. He says this 5 times. Turn off the 5 senses and take no thought. When you turn off the thinking mind, you access pure consciousness, which is God. Matthew 21:12, Jesus went into the temple of God. Corinthians 3:16, do you not know that you are the temple of God? Jesus went within himself, connecting to pure consciousness because he knew that God is within him and within you. You build the Temple of Solomon when you balance the left and right hemispheres of your brain, Sol and Mon, sun and moon, which is the Holy Land of Israel, Isis, Ra, and El, which can help you astral project. Theologians tells you to meet the Lord in the air, earth, body, water, emotions, fire, spirit, air is mind. Take no thought, enter within your mind and meet with God. Raise your consciousness.
This here represents the surface of life. Surface. And we see surfaces, surfaces. And about 300 years ago, scientists, they started wondering what was this wood and what was this metal and what was it really? So they started looking into matter. So this side is matter. And this side is mind. Mind and matter. And the scientists, they discovered molecules. Deeper they went, and they discovered these atoms. And like I say, they thought that was the smallest particle for a long time. All these things we learn about in school. They went deeper, and they find inside the atoms these little electrons and neutrons and protons. And they went deeper and deeper and deeper, smaller and smaller particles, smaller and smaller particles. They found 4 forces. On a deeper level, the 4 became 3. And on a deeper level, the 3 became 2. And then, about 30 years ago, modern science, quantum physics, discovered the unified field. The unity of all the particles and all the forces of matter, of creation. Not only did they discover the unified field, but they found that everything that is a thing emerges from this field of no thing. Unmanifest. It is unmanifest. It is no hyphen thing, but all things come from it. Anything that is a thing has emerged from this field of unity. It's oneness. The scientists know this exists, but if they wanted to get there, you can't get there. It's unmanifest. You can't walk into this field. But any one of those scientists could practice a technique, transcendental meditation, which, remember, true happiness is not out there. You're given a mantra. A mantra, a very specific sound, vibration, thought. Very specific. It needs to be life-supporting at all deeper levels. And that mantra that you're given, that Maharishi gives, the key that opens the door. The mantra turns the mind within. Turns the awareness within. And you naturally dive. Why is it natural? Because each deeper level of mind and each deeper level of intellect has more happiness. And the deeper levels of mind and deeper levels of intellect correspond to deeper levels of matter. At the borderline of intellect, you transcend. Transcend is the key word. It means to go beyond. You're going beyond field of relativity, duality, experiencing oneness. Pure, unbounded, infinite consciousness. This consciousness has qualities: infinite creativity, intelligence, energy, love, power, and bliss. Dynamic, peace. Always been there, never had a beginning, it is and it will be forever. Unbounded, infinite, eternal, immutable, immortal consciousness, fullness. Any human being can experience this easily and effortlessly with Transcendental Meditation. Transcendental Meditation is just a vehicle to get you here. When you experience this level, you enliven it, and it grows in the individual.
What is ether? Ether is a unique essence of life force energy that flows through the universe and most of existence. The source of quintessence, chi, aura, and mana. It is the mystical, celestial element that is also known as the fifth element. Fire, water, earth, air, and ether. In Plato's Timaeus, speaking on the topic of air, Plato mentions that they are the most translucent kind, which is called by the name of ether. One claim is that the ether is the pure essence that the mythological gods lived and breathed in the same way humans did with air. Another claim is that the ether is a force used by God himself to create the universe. Another reference would be in the Hermeticist book, the Kybalion, that not only explains its nature, but the plane it comes from. There have been many claims and theories made by alchemists, philosophers, and scientists, such as Nikola Tesla and Dayton Miller, that confirm the ether's existence. Ether is the medium for every electromagnetic wave, from radio waves to gamma rays. Ether exists in elemental, cosmic, and spiritual forces. This is also recorded in the Kybalion's entries. Energy and spirit. Everything vibrates, known as the principle of vibration. All energy moves, vibrates, and spirals. The differences between different manifestations of matter, form, energy, mind, and spirit are the result of different degrees of vibration. Levels and layers. There are three basic planes of being: the great physical plane, earth; the great mental plane, air, fire, water, and earth; the great spiritual plane, ether. Spirits are believed to be ethereal beings that are basically made of ether. Experiments on the ether. The concept of ether was used in several theories to explain several natural phenomena, such as the speed of light and gravity. In the late 19th century, physicists postulated that ether permeated all throughout space, providing a medium through which light waves could travel in a vacuum. The result of that test was that they were unsuccessful in proving that the luminous ether wind exists in the Michelson-Morley experiment. The experiment was performed in 1887 by Albert A. Michelson and Edward W. Morley at what is now Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio. They suspected that the ether wind followed in one direction, but that is not the case, and so all the experiments that have been performed have been with little results. In other words, they expected it to be measurable in a way that is in an incorrect method of measuring ether. What I find interesting is that a great scientist by the name of Dayton Miller had positive results and is usually left out of the conversation when it comes to proving the ether's existence. Dayton Miller was a scientific leader of the 20s and 30s. He led the leading science journal of the time. Miller provided beyond any doubt that the ether was real. He destroyed the relativists so badly and exposed their lies with such ferocity that they had to wait 14 years till after his death before they could bribe enough people to ignore his work. But there were far more experiments done afterwards that provided the existence of the ether, all of whom they willingly choose to ignore. I believe that I have really found the relationship between gravitation and electricity, assuming that the Miller experiments are based on a fundamental error. Otherwise, the whole relativity theory collapses like a house of cards. The history of science records the 1887 ether drift experiment of Albert Michelson and Edward Morley as a pivotal turning point where the energetic ether of space was discarded by mainstream physics. Thereafter, the postulate of empty space was embraced, along with related concepts which demanded constancy and light speed, such as Albert Einstein's relativity theory. The now famous Michelson-Morley experiment is widely cited in almost all the physics textbooks for its claimed null or negative results. Less known, however, is the far more significant and detailed work of Dayton Miller. Miller's 1933 paper in Reviews of Modern Physics details the positive results from over 20 years of experimental research into the question of ether drift, and remains the most definitive body of work on the subject of light beam interferometry. Dayton Miller's work on ether drift was so constructed and yielded consistently positive results. The so-called experts deny the existence of ether, and yet it's no wonder why it seems like we are coming close to a dead end when it comes to science. Perhaps it's about time that we try some new experiments with modern-day equipment. What do you think? Nikola Tesla once said that the day scientists begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in 1 decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence. Only the existence of a field of force can account for the motions of the bodies as observed, and its assumption dispenses with space curvature. All literature on this subject is futile and destined to oblivion, so are all the attempts to explain the workings of the universe without recognizing the existence of the ether and the indispensable function it plays in the phenomena. My second discovery was of a physical truth of the greatest importance, as I have searched the entire scientific records in more than a half-dozen languages for a long time without finding the least anticipation. I consider myself the original discoverer of this truth, which can be expressed by the statement, "There is no energy in matter other than that received from the environment." Nikola Tesla. In the 20th century, Nikola Tesla discovered many inventions through his research, which involved ether energy. With around 300 patents to his name and many breakthrough inventions, Nikola Tesla is one of the greatest scientists that ever lived, if not the greatest. Tesla was probably onto some major breakthroughs and discoveries using the ether element. His main goal was to create free energy for the whole world. This great work has been concealed by greedy people for centuries, and because of greed, by the money-hungry monopoly elite investors and the owners of the power companies, he got shut down. When Tesla died, the FBI banned and seized all of his work, especially his work that involved the use of ether energy. Donald Trump's uncle, John G. Trump, a professor at MIT and a well-known electrical engineer serving as a technical aide to the National Defense Research Committee, was called in to analyze the Tesla items, which were being held in custody. Tesla's research on ether energy has been declared as secret records by the United States government. Truth has a way of surfacing, and there will be a day when all the world will see all of Nikola Tesla's great inventions come to life. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. My brain is only a receiver. In the universe, there is a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration. Today's scientists have substituted mathematics for experiments, and they wander off through equation after equation and eventually build a structure which has no relation to reality.